Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever been so consumed by thoughts of one person that you forgot to eat? Have you ever checked your phone 50 times in a single hour just hoping to see their name? Have you ever felt a physical ache, not emotional, not symbolic, but a real, genuine, chest-tightening pain when that person wasn't around? If you said yes to any of those questions, I need you to understand something right now. You were not being dramatic. You were not being weak. You were not simply catching feelings. Your brain was behaving exactly like the brain of someone addicted to a powerful drug. And I do not mean that as a metaphor. I mean that in the most precise, scientifically documented, neurologically verified way possible. Because when researchers put people who described themselves as madly in love into brain scanning machines and showed them photographs of the person they loved, what they observed was extraordinary. The regions of the brain that lit up, the areas that surged with activity, were the exact same regions that activate in the brains of cocaine users when they receive their next hit. Let that sink in for just a moment. The person you love, the one who makes your heart race, the one whose laugh you could listen to forever, the one you would do almost anything for, that person has essentially become a chemical dependency encoded inside your own nervous system. So today, we are going to break this down completely. We are going to follow this addiction step by step, from the very first glance to the deep, lasting bond that can endure for decades. We are going to understand exactly what is happening inside your brain when you fall in love, why it feels the way it does, why it hurts the way it hurts, and why, out of all the billions of people walking this planet, your brain sometimes locks onto just one specific human being and refuses to let go. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at love the same way again. The chemical cocktail. Everything begins with chemistry, not the poetic kind people talk about on first dates, the literal kind, the molecular kind. The kind that happens deep inside your brain before you have even processed a single conscious thought about the person standing in front of you. The moment you encounter someone your brain finds compelling, and scientists believe this initial assessment happens in under 1/10 of 1 second, your hypothalamus begins releasing a cascade of chemicals that will fundamentally alter your psychological state. The first major player is dopamine. You have probably heard of this one. Dopamine is your brain's reward chemical. It is the substance responsible for motivation, pleasure, and the relentless pursuit of things that feel good. Under normal circumstances, dopamine gets released in moderate amounts when you eat something delicious, accomplish a goal, or hear a favorite song. But when romantic attraction enters the picture, the dopamine system shifts into a completely different gear. Studies conducted by researcher Helen Fisher at Rutgers University, work she began in the early 2000s, revealed that people newly in love showed dopamine activity in the ventral tegmental area of the brain. This is one of the brain's most primitive reward centers. It is the same region that becomes hyperactivated in people addicted to substances like cocaine, methamphetamine, and nicotine. What does dopamine actually do to you in this context? It creates what researchers call motivation and goal-directed behavior. In plain language, it makes you obsess. It makes you focus. It makes the person you are attracted to feel like the most important thing in your world. Every interaction with them becomes a reward. Every moment away from them creates a craving. Your brain begins organizing your entire behavioral system around one singular goal, getting more of this person. But dopamine is only the beginning. Alongside dopamine, your brain begins flooding your system with norepinephrine. This is the chemical responsible for that unmistakable physical experience of early love. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, the inability to sleep, the feeling that your stomach has somehow relocated to your throat. Norepinephrine is essentially your brain's emergency alert system repurposed for attraction. It sharpens your focus, increases your energy, and makes the object of your desire feel urgent and vital in a way that is genuinely difficult to explain to someone who has never experienced it. And then there is serotonin, or rather, the startling absence of it. Research conducted in the early 2000s in Italy found that people who described themselves as newly in love had serotonin levels comparable to patients diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Serotonin is a mood-stabilizing chemical. When its levels drop, the brain becomes preoccupied, repetitive, and fixated. Sound familiar? That inability to stop thinking about someone, that mental loop that plays their voice, their face, their words over and over throughout your day. That is not romance being overdramatic. That is clinically measurable, chemically induced obsessive thinking. You are quite literally unable to stop. Why this person and not another? Now here is where things get genuinely fascinating. Because we understand the chemicals, but we still have not answered the deeper question. Why this person? Why does your brain select one specific human being to become obsessed with? Why do you walk into a room of 100 people and feel your entire nervous system orient toward just one of them? The answer involves multiple overlapping systems, and scientists are still working to fully understand all of them. But here is what we know. Your brain is constantly running what you could call a biological compatibility algorithm. It processes thousands of data points about the people around you: facial symmetry, body language, vocal pitch, movement patterns, even smell. Most of this happening entirely beneath conscious awareness. Researchers have found that humans can detect genetic compatibility through scent alone. Studies using what became known as the sweaty t-shirt experiments, first conducted by Swiss zoologist Klaus Wedekind in the 1990s, showed that people consistently rated the body odor of individuals with complementary immune system genes as more attractive. Your nose is literally performing genetic analysis and reporting the results to your subconscious. Beyond genetics, your brain is also cross-referencing against something researchers call your love map. This is a neurological template developed throughout your childhood and adolescence, a composite portrait built from your earliest attachment experiences, the emotional patterns of your caregivers, the relationships you witnessed, and the experiences that shaped your understanding of safety, connection, and intimacy. By the time you are an adult, this love map is deeply encoded. When you meet someone who matches significant features of that map, consciously or unconsciously, your brain registers a signal that feels, from the inside, like destiny. This is why falling in love can feel like recognition, like you have known this person before. Because in a neurological sense, your brain has been carrying a template of them for years. The 3 stages of love in the brain. Researchers who study the neuroscience of love generally agree that the experience moves through 3 distinct stages, each governed by different brain chemistry and serving different evolutionary purposes. The first stage is lust. This is driven primarily by the sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, and its evolutionary function is straightforward. It motivates you to seek a mate. It is broad, relatively indiscriminate, and intense. It does not yet involve deep attachment. It is simply your biology demanding that you engage. The second stage is attraction. This is what most people mean when they say they have fallen in love. This is the dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin storm we discussed earlier. This stage can last anywhere from a few months to approximately 2 years, though this varies significantly between individuals. During this stage, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and critical judgment, actually shows reduced activity when you are thinking about your partner. Your brain is quite literally suppressing your capacity for objective analysis. This is why people in new love tend to idealize their partners, overlook red flags, and make decisions that seem incomprehensible to everyone around them. Your judgment is neurologically impaired, not in a harmful way, in an evolutionarily calculated way designed to keep you bonded long enough to form a lasting connection. The third stage is attachment. This is where everything shifts. As the initial chemical storm of attraction begins to settle, a different set of chemicals rises to prominence. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone or the cuddle chemical, begins playing a central role. Oxytocin is released during physical touch, during sustained eye contact, during shared laughter, during the thousands of small, intimate moments that accumulate between two people over time. Vasopressin, a related hormone, also becomes increasingly important in this stage, particularly in relation to long-term commitment and pair bonding. These chemicals create something remarkable. They begin to wire the specific person into your brain's reward system in a deep, durable way. This is no longer the frantic, desperate craving of early attraction. This is something quieter and, in many ways, more powerful. It is familiarity coded as safety, presence coded as comfort. This specific human being becomes neurologically synonymous with your sense of security and well-being. This is why losing a long-term partner, to death, to separation, to distance, can feel physically devastating in a way that surprises even the person experiencing it. Because the loss is not just emotional, it is the disruption of a neurological system that has been calibrated around that person's presence for months or years or decades. Why heartbreak feels like withdrawal? We need to talk about what happens when it ends. Because if love is an addiction, then heartbreak is withdrawal. And the science confirms this in ways that are both fascinating and genuinely sobering. When a relationship ends, particularly one that has reached the deep attachment stage, the brain experiences a measurable disruption of its dopamine system. The reliable source of reward has been removed. The neurological pathways that were built around that person's presence begin to create cravings in the absence of their stimulus. This is why people in the aftermath of breakups often describe obsessive thoughts, inability to concentrate, loss of appetite, disrupted sleep, and a compulsive urge to contact the person they have lost. These are not signs of weakness. These are textbook withdrawal symptoms. Research led by neuroscientist Lucy Brown and anthropologist Helen Fisher used brain imaging to study people who had recently experienced romantic rejection. They found that even after the relationship had ended, viewing a photograph of their former partner activated the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, with the same intensity as in people who were currently in love. But it also activated regions associated with craving, physical pain, and emotional distress simultaneously. The brain was still pursuing the reward it had been trained to expect, while simultaneously processing the pain of its absence. And here is something worth sitting with. The same study found that people who described themselves as still in love with someone who had rejected them showed brain activity in regions associated with risk-taking and decision-making when viewing their former partner's photograph. This helps explain behaviors that seem irrational from the outside: the late-night messages, the drives past someone's house, the inability to simply walk away. The brain is not being foolish, it is being addicted. What this all means for you. So what do we do with all of this? I think understanding the neuroscience of love does something important. It removes the shame, it removes the confusion. It replaces the story of "why am I like this?" with a much more truthful narrative. One that says, you are a biological creature operating with a brain that was designed over millions of years of evolution to bond deeply with another person. Your capacity for love, including its most overwhelming, irrational, painful expressions, is not a flaw in your design. It is the design. Every racing heart, every sleepless night, every moment of breathtaking joy in someone else's company, every ache of missing them. These are not accidents. They are the sophisticated, ancient, chemically precise workings of a brain that is doing exactly what brains evolved to do. You are not addicted to a person. You are human. And being human means that somewhere in the 3-pound universe inside your skull, the most complex structure in the known cosmos decided, based on chemistry and memory and biology, and something science still cannot fully explain, that one specific person was worth organizing everything around. If that is not the most extraordinary thing you have heard today, I genuinely do not know what is. Thank you for watching. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone whose brain you may have already rewired. Just a little.